Have you ever arrived at a meeting on time, greeted everyone politely, and still felt like something was off? I've lived abroad, worked with bosses from Brazil, Turkey, the UK, and more. I've coached non-native English speakers from all over the world. And what I've learned is this: a lot of miscommunication isn't about bad English. It's about unspoken cultural rules. In this episode, we're going to walk through how people greet each other across cultures, from professional handshakes and bowing to no-contact gestures, kissing and hugs, and very informal greetings, so you can avoid awkward moments and feel more confident and respectful when meeting people from different backgrounds. Before we dive into the different greetings, I want to share one of my own stories when cross-cultural communication went wrong. I live in Colombia, and here it's very common to greet people with a hug and a kiss on the cheek, especially people you know well. After a while, this just becomes normal. You stop thinking about it. It becomes a habit. So after living here for some time, I went back to the United States. I ran into an old friend. I was happy to see him, and without thinking, I kissed him on the cheek. And he was like, "Whoa, what was that?" And he was very surprised. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's just a habit now." And we laughed. But that moment has stuck with me because this is how cultural habits work. When you spend enough time in a culture, the way people greet each other starts to feel automatic. But the reality is that this can vary so much from culture to culture. In social situations, it can be funny. But in professional situations, the same misunderstanding can feel awkward and possibly even disrespectful. Now we're going to look at common gestures used around the world for greetings. But first, I want to recommend that you check out the transcript for this episode using the link in the description or clicking this QR code. Now let's go ahead and get back to the greetings. Number 1 is the handshake. So let's start with the most common greeting gesture for professional settings or when you're meeting someone new for the first time: the handshake. In international business, the handshake works because it communicates professionalism, respect, and clear boundaries without being too personal. This is why handshakes are common in places like the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia, and why they're also wildly used across much of Europe and Latin America in business contexts. In many cultures, a handshake is expected at the beginning of a first meeting, and sometimes again at the end. However, even when the gesture is the same, the style can vary. Grip strength, eye contact, and how long the handshake lasts can all change the message you send. In some places, handshakes are firm and brief. In others, they're lighter, longer, or more relaxed. In parts of the Middle East and South Asia, for example, handshakes may last longer. And it's important to remember that the right hand is used, since the left hand can be considered inappropriate in some cultural or religious traditions. It's also important to be aware of gender-related cultural norms to avoid causing discomfort or offense. In some African cultures, handshakes may include additional steps or small variations that signal friendliness and respect. So while the handshake works as a global business default, it's not a one-size-fits-all gesture. When possible, do a little research. Observe how others greet each other, and always show respect for the local culture you're in. Number 2 is bowing. In some cultures, greetings focus less on physical contact and more on showing respect through posture or body movement. Bowing plays an important role in countries like Japan and South Korea, especially in formal or professional settings. Here, bowing communicates respect, awareness of hierarchy, and politeness. Similar respect-based greetings exist in other parts of the world. In Thailand, people often combine their slight bow with the hands pressed together. In India, the namaste gesture serves a similar purpose and is often used to show respect and politeness. Variations of these gestures also exist in places like Cambodia and Malaysia. Even though these greetings may look similar, their meaning and level of formality can differ significantly from country to country. That's why it's important not to assume they are interchangeable and to take time to learn what's appropriate in each context. If you work closely with people from these cultures, be sure to research the specific norms and observe what others do first. So, number 3 is no touch gestures. Sometimes the most respectful choice is not using physical contact at all. No touch greetings include a polite verbal greeting with a friendly smile, a small nod, a subtle wave, or even briefly raising your eyebrows to acknowledge someone. This is usually more familiar or informal. These gestures are very common in international workplaces, formal environments, and situations where you're unsure about cultural expectations. No-touch greetings are especially useful in first meetings, in multicultural teams, when there are religious or personal boundaries. A simple hello, nice to meet you, combined with a nod or a smile, can communicate professionalism and respect without any risk of crossing boundaries. Sometimes doing less is the most polite choice. Number 4 is kissing and hugging. Before we talk about rules, I want to start with a real moment because this greeting can be very embarrassing if you get it wrong. I come from a non-kissing culture, so even after living abroad for years, this still doesn't feel completely natural to me. There have been times when I went in for a hug and a kiss on the cheek. The other person went in for a kiss too. We moved in the same direction and we almost kissed on the lips. Extremely awkward. And I'll be honest, this has happened more than once. And that's why this greeting matters. When kissing is part of a culture, getting it wrong isn't just uncomfortable, it can be embarrassing for both people. So, how does kissing as a greeting usually work? In many cultures, a kiss on the cheek is not romantic. It's simply a way to show warmth and friendliness. However, one of the biggest differences is how many kisses people expect. And this is where confusion starts. One kiss. In some places, greeting with one kiss is common. This can be seen in parts of Latin America, including countries like Colombia and Argentina, and in some other regions around the world. The kiss is usually light, cheek to cheek, and very quick. 2 kisses. In many other cultures, 2 kisses are the norm. This is common in parts of Southern Europe, such as Spain and Portugal, as well as in Brazil and some other regions. Usually people alternate cheeks, but even this can vary. And 3 or more kisses. In some places, people go for 3 kisses or even more. This can happen in certain parts of France and Belgium. And the exact number can change by region, city, or even family. This is why trying to memorize rules often doesn't work. So be sure to observe and don't be afraid to ask for advice. When is kissing appropriate and when is it not? Kissing is much more common in social settings with friends, family, or people you already know well. In professional settings, especially during first meetings, kissing is usually less common, even in cultures where it exists socially. Many workplaces still prefer a handshake or a verbal greeting. Kissing often appears later, once relationships are established, and even then it depends on company culture and personal comfort. The rule that saves you, so Here's the most important rule. Don't initiate. Let the locals lead. If someone leans in for a kiss, you can follow. If they don't, a handshake or verbal greeting is always safe. Observing and adapting is far more respectful than guessing. Kissing and hugging as greetings can feel warm and friendly, but they're also some of the easiest gestures to misread. Even people who live abroad for years, like me, get this wrong sometimes, and that's okay. What matters isn't perfection, it's awareness, humility, and the willingness to adapt. Just so you know, I'm a big hugger. Some people have said I give the best hugs, so if you ever meet me one day, I'm totally open to a friendly hug. Finally, number 5, very informal greetings. These are gestures like fist bumps, bro hugs, high fives, or even secret handshakes. These gestures signal friendship and equality, comfort, inside status. They're common among colleagues, friends, or very casual environments, but they're rarely appropriate for first meetings or formal situations. If you see these gestures, it usually means a really close relationship already exists. So, what's the real skill in cross-cultural greetings? It's not memorizing every gesture. It's starting more formal, observing carefully, and adjusting slowly. If you're ever unsure, choose the safer option. Watch how others interact and follow their lead. And now I'd love to hear from you. In your culture, how do people greet each other in formal situations compared to informal ones? Share it in the comments. Your experience helps everyone build better cross-cultural awareness. And if you want to review today's vocabulary and ideas, don't forget you can access the full transcript and study guide using the link below or the QR code. It's a great way to check your understanding and really master cultural greetings around the world. Thanks for listening to the Peach Teach English podcast. I'm Frankie Mesmer, your host, and this space is dedicated to taking you from B1 English to B2 English fluency and beyond. Be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this episode. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and I'll see you in the next episode.